a couple of quotes from some of the greats. This is from Bayazid Bistami, who was one of the perfect masters. For a long time, I used to circumambulate the Kaaba. When I attained God, I saw the Kaaba circumambulating me. This is William Blake, one of the English mystic poet back in the 1700s. Jesus, and this is kind of threading the needle, the theological needle, so you don't offend the churches. Jesus Christ is the only God, and so am I, and so are you. Jesus Christ is the only God, and so am I, and so are you. I think he got that past the authorities. This is Rumi. You are the sculptor, and I am your clay. I become however you shape me. I am a pen between your fingers. I won't scribble this way and that. I will write whatever you want to say. And this is Mark Twain. Those of you from India, he's one of our humorists. Under certain circumstances, profanity provides a relief denied even to prayer. I'll read that one again. Under certain circumstances, profanity provides a relief denied even to prayer. Now, this is one that Bill LePage liked very much. I mean, it's a little, what can I say? You might have to thread your way through it. What is all beauty in the world? It is but the reflection of branches in a stream from that eternal orchard which abides unwithered in the hearts of perfect beings. I'll read that again. That's a challenge to the imagination. What is all beauty in the world? It is but the reflection of branches in a stream from that eternal orchard which abides unwithered in the hearts of perfect beings. Anyway, I hope that didn't jumble your imagination too much. So here's what. I thought what I would do is I'll kind of get the ball rolling here a little bit. So unworthiness, and here's one of the, I'm going to use my own case, but one of the things that's unfortunate is that we are a mixture of good and bad traits, but we also have the divine qualities. And back when I was just into Baba, Baba holds before us all these great divine qualities to strive for. And I found in the beginning that I had imposed impossible standards on myself, levels of control, of my anger, of my patience, of my desires, my moods. And so in the beginning, I used to, I felt I can't live up to the life that Baba's asking of us. And so I would have, I would feel unworthy, like I'm not really living up to it. But fortunately, early on, I found Baba was very compassionate. He was more like a mother with unconditional love. And he basically used to say, Jeff, just relax. Don't be so hard on yourself. I mean, that was his message to me. And, of course, I knew that Baba wants us to be more loving, but not at the sped up timetable that I had set for myself. You have to, I had to figure out what is my next, not this impossible ideal, what is my next step toward honesty? What is my next step toward patience? Not what patience is, that's way out of reach. But what is my next? So I had to be much more realistic on what I was capable of. And, you know, here's one thing that Erich said, and this was a great relief. In Mandalay Hall, from time to time, he would say that spiritual progress is very, 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 very gradual. 4 varies. So don't beat yourself up if you're a little bit slow. And here's the other thing that Baba said about his method is 2 steps forward, 1 step back. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And what Baba said is that you make progress and then you backslide, and then you make progress and then you come into your weaknesses. You go forward with your strengths and you get hit by your weaknesses. And Baba said that way he is annihilating your pride in progress as you go along. Does that make sense? So we're aware of our shortcomings even as we move into a deeper part of ourselves. So anyway, that's all I'm going to, well, I'll say one other thing, but I won't go into it. But a lot of people who have come here to the center over the years who suffer from a feeling of unworthiness, very often their parents were kind of, both parents kind of had a disapproving attitude toward them. And so they wind up feeling there's something wrong with me. And then what happens is that the feeling that they receive from their parents gets projected onto Baba. So they feel that Baba is somehow disapproving of them, and Baba is just not that way. But if you don't know what it's like, if there's not someone in your life who loves you unconditionally, well, it might be a grandmother or an aunt or a teacher, the idea that Baba could love you unconditionally is just a theory. And we have to go deep within to find out that he really does love us unconditionally. He loves us no matter what. I mean, even if Tony, gets fired from his job at the UN, Baba still loves him, So anyway, I'm just starting out with that. And anybody want to weigh in on, what the difficulties they've had, and then I'll get into belonging to Baba. Oh shoot, I'm getting more phone calls. Go ahead. Hello, this is Jeff. Hello? Wow. Hello, yeah.
Jeff, we can hear your phone call.
You might need to mute yourself, Jeff.
Okay.
I actually like hearing it.
Yeah, okay. Will do. Yeah, but you're immortalized on Zoom too here. You're here. Peter Goodman's the one that made the call, just for all time. Okay. Yeah, bye-bye.
There are 22 flies on the wall.
Okay. So anyone feel like sharing their difficulties with the feeling of an unworthiness, or you're not enough, you got to improve. But fortunately, that a great service that parents can do is, if they love you, you don't have to deal so much with this feeling of being unworthy. Okay, good. Which one? Diane or Terry? Terry, okay.
So that's actually really helpful to me. When I was a little girl, my parents didn't put this on me, but I always felt that I had to perform perfectly. And I don't mean like perform on stage, but just perform in life perfectly. And then I kind of got a job that's sort of a perfectionist kind of situation. And when I'm not perfect, I feel less than. And I mean, I've done a lot of work on it, so it's not like it used to be, but it's still there. And when I'm not perfect, I think that Baba isn't loving me in the way that you say he is. So it's interesting. I feel like I've been a bad girl.
Uh-huh. Yeah, whereas, yeah. No, that's, I mean, what you're saying is very common among Baba people that have come here to the center,
Mhm.
you know.
So I work really hard in trying to let it go and really give it to him, but I still have those moments of feeling like sick inside that I screwed up, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. But the thing is that when you give it to Baba, you're giving it to someone who is less likely to disapprove of you now that you're giving these things to them. You know what I mean? I mean, the feeling of you don't give your weaknesses to the person that disapproves of
Right.
you. You give your weaknesses to someone who loves you, you know?
Mm.
But
Thank-
great. And oh, let's see what Diane, anything there for you? Okay.
Well, actually, I talked about unworthiness today at Effort and Grace. And um, so think it's so interesting that this is the theme. And so many people from Effort and Grace didn't come in tonight. I wonder if they didn't feel worthy. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I, I, uh, I think that it's natural for me, and I'm sure for most people, to take things personally. And when I don't get my needs met, um, a comic died over the weekend, an old Jewish Borscht Belt kind of comedian, and he told the story that when he's watching a football game and he sees everybody in a huddle, he's sure they're talking about him.
They
And
are. They definitely are.
Yeah,
and
they are.
you know, I think that I have a sneaky feeling that I think that how could Baba have time for me when he has to be everywhere doing everything for everybody? How is he going to want my little old things? And then I keep remembering that Jeff Wolverton says that he thrives on being given the our stuff.
Oh,
And the
yeah.
other night when I couldn't sleep, and I said give it to Baba, and I literally thought I don't remember how to give it to Baba, like I forgot, and all I kept visualizing was a shovel because I had so
Good.
much to give to him. But I don't think that's a very poetic way to
No,
give.
that's it. He would love it. I feel he would love it. Just shovel it. There was one time Baba was giving darshan. I mean, Erich describes this, and people are coming up and they're bringing in coconuts and fruit and flowers and everything, and they're putting it at his feet, and then the mandali are taking him aside and putting him on either side, and there are these huge mounds that are to the left and right of Baba, and at a certain point Baba said, "Stop! You know, I am the Lord of creation. I've given you all this stuff, and you're giving it back. I don't want it. No one gives me what I want." And there was a little lady in the back and says, "What do you want, Baba?" And Baba says, "I am the personification of perfection. But there's one thing I don't have, and that's your imperfections. Give me your imperfections." So basically, he's opened the door. He's got a lot of my junk. So keep shoveling. The never ending shoveling. So, Rainey, what are they, what kind of shovels did they have down in Australia?
Same shovel. Same. Well, I was thinking of unworthiness, and the millions of times the Mandali said how worthy we all were and how Baba loved us, and so we had to secretly, well, on the outside, give up unworthiness too. But that feeds into insecurity, ups and downs, self-consciousness. They're all part of that whole, and it's an aspect really of suppressed anger. It's sort of over there. It's and it can become an ego. It can become, oh, I really can't go around and meet Mara. I don't feel worthy. I knew a girl who nearly missed her trip on that one. She nearly missed going around to meet Mara. And by the time she would have come back, she wouldn't have been there. And I soon grabbed her wrist, didn't I? Get over it. Come along now. Round we go. You know, it's like I had to become auntie. But anyway, all of those things become a habitual a drug, a depressive, a downer, and you can sometimes you can feel more when you're down. We're used to feeling when we're down. It's that whole syndrome with musicians. We can only write when we're drugged or when we're down and out or when we've got a broken heart. I think there's a fabulous book called Fire about that very syndrome, and it becomes instead of humility, it becomes modesty, and it becomes a trap. And I was going to read Sometimes, because we know how funny that is. Sometimes I feel like a man upside down in a garbage can, and I was all ready to read it, but suddenly my eyes, and I just oracled to make sure that's what I was going to read, but I oracled In Dust I Sing, and I came across the famous Guzzle 5, Do Not Give Up. And I was sitting here finishing my cup of tea and suddenly realized that in each couplet is the habitual running ourselves down, and in the next line is the reason not to. So I thought it would be nice to only read the running ourselves down line, 7 lines, and then look at the solution to them on the why not to do that. Though fate 1,000 times makes you a pawn in its game, don't give up. Couplet 2, first line. Though the wave rises before you like a mountain, do not give up. Though gorgeous girls, golden as goddesses, come to you, or boys, or whatever you fall in love with, do not give up. Though earth be crushed, do not give up. Though your beloved looks at you askance, well, some days, do not give up. And of course he doesn't, Mandali said he doesn't. He's always gazing at us in love. Think of those that went before you. Do not give up. Well, the last couplet comes into some of the solution. The end of every affair was in its beginning. I mean, you should have known the lesson at the start, not to be running yourselves down and getting yourself so down and out like this, because you can only build yourself back up again, in this conversation with yourself. Do not give up. So in the first line, though fate 1,000 times makes you a pawn, the solution is just hold on to his skirt and do not give up.
Rainey, just a second, please. Could you, your accent and reading so fast and a verbiage that's not normal English, I'm missing a lot. Could you say that line again? And could you go slower, please?
Sorry.
I don't quite, because you're familiar with it, but that's the first time I've heard it.
I mean, some of us have an IQ that's just barely up to 70. No.
Yeah, I'm that one. Well, though fate makes you a pawn in a chess game, right?
Yeah.
So the answer to that is, don't let it do that. Just hold on to his daman. Though this awful wave rises as big as a mountain, the reason not to give up, it's actually nothing. It's a ripple on a pond. Compared to the knowledge bliss fountain. Though gorgeous girls or people you're in love with come before you, don't give up, because their smile is actually Baba.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Though earth be crushed, don't give up, because you'll find when the wreck of the earth is washed away, there's the beloved's form. Do not give up. So if Baba looks at you askance, Don't give up, because one day will come an invitation to the dance. Think of the men who went before. But wait a minute, think of the men who came after. Do not give up, because Earth's been here 1,000,000 times and it's nothing but a matter for a huge laughter. Do not give up. The end of every affair was in its beginning. You know, the lesson you should have seen and you didn't, it came and hit you in the head from behind. Well, don't give up, because the conclusion is in your singing. By singing, he means your devotion, your love for him, the return of the love he gives to you. So do not give up. So for every, this is a classic guzzle with complaint and praise, but this is the downer and the upper and the upper, but don't give up. And why it came to mind too, I didn't ever see it like this before because I just sing it, you know. But it's about insecurity, the habit of insecurity, the habit of the downer, the habit of putting ourselves down, the habit of unworthiness makes us feel good then when we feel worthy again. It can be, as Darwin points out in his talk in his film about modesty versus humility, it can become a trap.
Yeah.
Hey, Barbara.
Little old me. That expression. I once asked Darwin, what is the biggest mistake the Baba lovers are making? He said they think of themselves as small and they remain small. Think big. Think even outside the traditional spiritual box.
Yes, and Francis said, give up hope. Hold on to certainty.
Beautiful. Hey, well, let's see what Josh has to say. He's skipping a couple of classes just to be here, but yeah.
I'm not. I'm on holidays. It's interesting because this is something that I've really struggled with. I had a sort of like, lots of terrible things going on in my childhood and things like that. And so for ages and for a long time, like a lot of the way I see Baba was just this projection of this internal sort of insecurity. And, it feels like Baba was like constantly criticizing me and, like just being really mean, just really mean. And what's so interesting about this is, for whatever karmic reason, this is the way, I'm seeing Baba in this lifetime or whatever. It's one day I had the thought, I'm only worried about, Baba being mean to sort of me. Why aren't I worried about Baba being mean to other people? I don't give a hoot about if Baba's being mean to other people, really. I mean, when I'm trapped in my emotional cycles. And that's when it sort of realized that there was an I in there. There was some kind of selfishness in there. It was, I think Baba would probably call it the inferiority complex. A part of me was sustaining and perpetuating this idea that, that Baba was mean to me, and that, and that just like, I know, just perpetuating this emotional sort of cycle. And yet again, I realized secretly the self-important I had blown to giant proportions. And once again, I was the center of the universe and all beings and all things. And that's why my emotions were so impacted by the thought of Baba being angry at me. I wasn't looking at the stars and the flowers and everyone else and all the incredible, massive, giant scope that this world has to offer. And I was inflating my sense of self unconsciously to giant proportions. Yeah, so that's just
Beautiful.
An interesting take that I have on it.
Yeah, very insightful. Yeah, it gives us a chance to think about ourselves instead of having to think about other people. If we get too down and out. Wow. Yeah, that's anyone else? While we're waiting, I'll tell you an exchange I had with Erich when I was young. Isabel, how old are you?
I'm 21.
21. I was a little older than you. But I said to Erich, I said, Erich, in Mandalay Hall, I said, Erich, what if I went out to a party last night? I had a wild time. I got drunk. I just carried on. And I knew that Baba wouldn't be exactly happy with it, but I was bound and determined to, to have a good time. And now this morning, I'm hungover. I have a headache. I feel miserable. I said, Erich, I don't want to burden Baba with this that I'm feeling. I mean, it was my own choice. That was my own choice from the night before. I'm willing to experience the burden myself. Then I said to Erich, does Baba want me to give him my hangover? And Erich is over there, on the other side. He said, yes. Give him your hangover. And the embarrassment of having such a meager gift to give your beloved will inspire you next time to have something more precious to offer. But always give to him whatever you feel deep down. And I said, but still, Erich, isn't that a burden to Baba? And these words were emblazoned on my heart. He said, brother, it is a greater burden to Baba to withhold anything from him than to throw on him the worst of yourself. It is a greater burden to Baba to withhold anything from him than to throw on him the worst of yourself. And so Baba has gotten all the good, bad, and ugly of me over the years. And I wouldn't have thought, I didn't think love did things like that. But this is a different kind of beloved. This isn't a girlfriend, or a spouse or whatever. Okay, Mahu.
Yes, good evening. Mahu here. And sorry that I missed the Effort and Grace meeting today, Jeff. I usually don't miss it, but something came up that I had to take care of. So I'm making it up here, by the way, because usually I don't come to the late chat. But anyway, good to be with all. I like to share a quote, actually, and then I'll talk a little bit. But I like to share a quote. If I can find it, go to my, here we go. And this is in a Glimpses of the God. This is Glimpses of the God Man, Volume 2 by Balnatu, our very dear Balnatu. How much he contributed, only Baba knows. But anyway, in this passage, Balnatu talks about, well, he first talks about how in the new life, Baba stirred things up so much that he wanted the emotional even crises come up. And so it was initiated, emotional crisis, and then it was resolved. So Baba wanted things to surface up and then have a way of dealing with it. But this letter is, I think it's explained it all. Balnatu says, I'll quote below a letter from Baba sent in the early 1930s to Quentin Todd, one of his lovers from England. Quentin Todd was same time as Kitty Davy, all those from England, they came to Baba and so forth. Herbert Davy, his brother, her brother, and so forth. So in that letter, Baba dictated, Meher Baba dictated, I have all your loving letters and know how you long to be of service to me, Baba says to Quentin. You have been and will be still more, dear boy. Why should you feel yourself unworthy? and that I am pulling on or putting up with you, and so on. For I love you as you are. You have a nice, frank, receptive heart that can and does love, in spite of the constant reverses, as you say, from the head. And that is all I want. Then Baba continues, when one completely depends on me, I repeat, when one completely depends on me and leave things to me as you have, I see that the reverses from the head gradually give away. I will order everything for the best, as you desire. The way you feel your own weaknesses open your way and lead you to rise above them. They all have to come out once, and the sooner the better. It is because of this that you feel as you do. But you, dear Todd, needn't at all worry, for it is all for the better. Things are being stirred up, and they are all brought out to prepare you for the greater future that is to be yours. Love me more, and that will take care of other things, consuming all in its flame, till nothing but pure love divine remains. That is all I want you to do, more and more. Well, should we say anything else besides what Baba said?
Beautiful.
He said it all.
Yeah.
He definitely summed it up really, really nicely, and those letters are written for the purposes. Baba knows that one day we all get together here and we talk about unworthiness. But really speaking, when we are with the master, and if we get to know really who he is, if we really get to know who he is, we don't take him lightly. And quite honestly, we don't think about anything like unworthiness, causing trouble to Baba, none of that. Our mind even don't go there. You see, when we focus more and more in Meher Baba, our mind is consumed in Meher Baba. It's a way of self-control. When he says, remember me, or repeat my name, because it gives us self-control. We don't care about unworthiness or weaknesses. We don't compare ourselves with the next one. We don't have jealousy, envious, low desires, We do have that, but we don't pay attention. As he said, let them come and go. Let these samskaras come and go. Although he helps us to unwind these samskaras, but he also helps us how to deal with it. So I just wanted to share this besides all this that, and it's really, really important. It's that simple. You know, it's that simple for us to deal. It's all thought process. These thoughts are the byproduct of our sanskaras. And as Baba, perfect masters and his agents are working now around the clock, you better be sure of it. These things comes up. A lot of things still will come up. Get ready. Will come up. But we shouldn't allow these thoughts to distract us from Baba, take us to our weaknesses, and so forth. One thing that really has helped me, Jeff, and others, recently I have started reading God Speaks Again. Okay? And Baba mentioned to some people read God Speaks, to some people said put it under your pillow, and then to some people said read it at least 3 times. And I tell you, it's another domain of reality, because once we get to know this is all nothing, it's a nothing in nothing in nothing, Baba says, that's a gross hole. And then subtle is nothing and nothing, and mental is just nothing. But anyway, don't go through that. But when you realize this is all nothing, the only thing that matters is the oversoul, the Paramatma, that created all this creation. And Baba says, even those plane of consciousness, even people who are experiencing those, they're all illusion. Don't get so tied up with it. You see? So ever since, and I really keep myself busy reading it. I really do, because it helps me. It really helps. And another thing I must say, hold on. Another thing I must say, oops.
Oh, that's your phone. I thought it was mine.
You know, Baba has made, another thing I must say, just want to share how much I'm benefiting from this, Jeff. Another thing that I must say, in this particular time, Baba has made us to be a reader. I swear to God, before that, for the last 25 years I've been with Baba, I have never read as much as I'm reading now. The pandemic, the lockdown, everything is the opportunity he created for us, because we have more time to ourselves. We can read it. And I participate in God Speaks, and I want to tell you, this morning I woke up at 3:30 a.m. Pacific time. 3 a.m. my alarm went off. Because why did I do that? Because World Parks had started this God Speaks, most wonderful India time though, 4 to 5 India time. And it was a live question and answer. Your question was answered. And guess what? He was talking from Mehrabad. He was in Mehrabad for past 2 years. He hasn't been traveled. And I swear, the vibe from Mehrabad was coming as he was talking. You see? So these are all Baba. Baba has created all of this for us, and it's our choice to take advantage of and move on. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai.
Okay. Well, we got Tony Paterniti, a good Catholic. I wonder how he's dealt with guilt. Where's Tony? Where'd he go? Uh-oh. We lost that guy.
He felt too guilty to share anything, I guess.
What's that?
He felt too guilty to share anything. So
Yeah, he's too, yeah.
Not worthy, not worthy.
My mother used to say, Jewish people just rent guilt, Catholics own it.
Say that again?
Jewish people just rent guilt, Catholics own it.
Yeah.
That's right. That's why they go to pastors.
Yeah, there was a town in Ohio, and they didn't have enough Jews to build a synagogue and enough Catholics to build a cathedral. So they made a combined house of worship. And you know what they called it? Our Lady of Perpetual Guilt. Anyway, Marion.
Boy, Jesus.
Hi, I'm just putting on my timer so I can kind of keep track of my time. Hi, so this is so topical because that I've been dealing with feelings of unworthiness since I was in my mother's womb. And so I obviously came in with those sanskaras to be right in front of my face as I practice therapeutic touch. And it was just about 3 years ago in a therapeutic touch group, which we would meet exactly in the same room where we used to have our Mayor Baba House meetings here in New York City. Very, very sacred space. And so I was undergoing a healing with 2 other people. It was very quiet, and I experienced being in my mother's womb, not as a memory, but as a stored memory in my cellular memory. And I burst into weeping because I was picking up on all I was youngest of 4, and I was expected to be a boy. So I was born in 1936, and nobody knew what you're going to have then. And so there was all this expectations of being a boy, and I picked that up in my mother's womb, and it was painful. And so I lived with that. I was always trying to measure up, and I never did, even though they had cute stories about me, that this cute little girl came along, but I knew, and that there was some disappointment at birth. So these embryos and babies are like a little sponge. So I knew from all my studies throughout my life and all of my spiritual training that, of course, these misconceptions and distortions were all set up, you know, to deal with in this life. So moving fast forward, I have on my bathroom mirror, it's interesting you had this subject, because I have a little big post-it there. I am enough. I've had it up this past year. And somebody says, oh, put that on your mirror. I've had other things on my bathroom mirror before, but this one is I am enough. Because of course, there are still aspects where I feel not enough. And so what I do is I call it my toolbox. I have a lot of tools in my toolbox. And the metaphor I use, that if I'm building a house and I've only got a hammer and a nail, well, I'm not going to have much of a house built with that. But if I have an electric saw and I have other people helping me and I've got all kinds of lumber and all, well, I'm going to do pretty good building that house. So that's my contention. So the tools that I have put together in this life, because professionally also, because I'm a transformational therapist, is that, and that's the whole self, is that dealing with all these 7 bodies that we have, you know, the physical, emotional, spiritual, and so forth. So years and years ago, when I first came to Baba, I would go to some Baba meetings and I said to a new friend, I said, you know, I notice a lot of people have some anger and some negative feelings toward each other, and they're all smiling at each other. And the smile is not genuine. It's like a mask over some of these negative feelings. And so I said, gee, it would, now this is way, way back, 69, 70, I guess 70, 71. So I said, how about we have a little group at my apartment and we make it safe, but expose a little bit more about ourselves. So lo and behold, not long after that, he came over and he said, guess what? I found a group that does that. And it was an encounter group. Remember the old encounter groups that were everybody yelling and screaming and getting out feelings. So, but it was people who had been in encounter groups and didn't like and wanted to leave because it didn't have a spiritual aspect. So they formed a group called Journey, and I got involved in that and first learned how to express negative emotions in a safe way that were buried in me, because I would never express that to my father, who ruled the roost in my family. None of we 4 children ever got angry with him, but he told us what to do. So everything that I had to give up to follow his wishes got buried in my energy body. So to be in this kind of work, but everybody was on a spiritual path, but not the same one. And there were a couple of other Baba followers who came into it. And being in that a couple of years really opened up a whole universe of me, the original good girl, trying to fit in, but I was the most rebellious one in my family. So you can imagine the conflict I grew up with of the most rebellious and trying to fit in and be the good girl and look good. So that really tore me apart a lot. So then moving ahead, this Journey organization eventually kind of fell apart, and I prayed to Baba. And I said, Baba, what is the next step for me to support my transformation? I put a period after it and I let it go and I put it in Baba's lap. And lo and behold, I won't go through the whole process, it'd take too much time. I was led to another group called the Pathwork, and wasn't perfect, but it has grown and matured, and I'm still involved in it. And when I went to my first group, emotional expression group, and grounding it and learning bioenergetics and core energetics, well, when I went to the first one and I met the woman leading it, and I said, how do all these people know each other? Because everybody seemed to know each other. She handed me a lecture called What is the Path? And I had an altered state experience of seeing Mayor Baba's discourse superimposed over this. And I got it. This was the answer. This work was the how-to of the discourses. So the discourses has the map, the whole map of the territory. it's up to us to find the how-tos. So that's what I discovered. So then I got certified in that work to help other people also. So yes, I still have some feelings of unworthiness, but I know what to do with them. I have a lot of tools. And in the discourses is, in the world of duality, there's the duality, pain and pleasure, happiness and unhappiness, grief and joy, life and death. And it means when holding both equally, not flipping from one to the other, trying to be happy all the time, that is the gateway to the unitive state. And it takes a lot of grounding energy to hold both equally. So that's what I'm in. And it gets tough sometimes. And I'm so grateful for Baba because I learned about my characterology. I hold a lot in my shoulders, up in my shoulders. I get bent over from all the burdens of the world I take on. Then I get in my imagination, a sheet, and I put them all in there, bundle them up and tie them up with a string. And Baba's sitting there in his chair. And I take them over and I put them in Baba's lap. And I say, here, Baba, this is for you. And Baba likes it when I get a very kind of aggressive, because I was always on the submissive side of the coin. And when I go over to the aggressive side and I look at Baba's picture and I say, here, Baba, I am releasing everything negative in me that is triggered by other people, not caused by other people, so that I may be filled with your light, love, and life. And then I swear that picture is like smiling at me, because when I get aggressive, Baba loves it. So I put it aggressively on Baba's lap and say, thank you, Baba. So that's me. That's what I'm contributing, is have a toolbox. I've got a good toolbox.
Wonderful, Marion, wonderful. You know, I want to add, Mayor Prasad, what's that quote from Jane Haynes?
Yeah, it's Baba loves us not in spite of who we are, but because of who we are.
Mm-hmm.
Say that again. What a beautiful line. Say that again.
Baba loves us not in spite of who we are, but because of who we are.
Wow. Beautiful.
And that is one of the big antidotes, like Marian is talking about tools. That is definitely one of the big antidotes that Baba gave me. I'm sure all of us have those antidotes, whether we know it or not, otherwise we wouldn't be here with Baba. So the first one that I had was the way that I came to Baba internally. I was born into a Baba family, but I didn't come to him internally until I didn't realize that I had this feeling of unworthiness until I saw this message that Mani was giving out during Christmas time. I was standing in line and and the one that she gave to me was on the pink slip that said, this was a Baba quote, and I've remembered that since the time that it was given. And it says, I want you to make me yours as you already eternally are mine. And that quote really brought me to him, because it surfaced all my unworthiness that I was keeping inside, and it just wiped out all of that until that point. And of course, there's a lot of other times that they keep on happening, but there is antidotes that he gives us, like this Charles Haynes talk in the 80s that gave this quote. And the third one that I also remember very, very well is this talk that Iruch gave once, that Baba himself told him. It's not a story, but when Baba was taking Iruch up the seclusion hill, I don't know who else were there, but Iruch was there for sure. And they were to go up to the top of the hill. You have to take turns. It goes zigzag. And at one turn, Baba stopped, and he turned to Iruch and said, there is, in the spiritual path, you will come to everyone will come to a stage where you will take this turn, and it feels like the turn has taken you back to where you started. You feel that way, but you should not get discouraged. You should continue on, even though it might feel like you are back to where you began, but you are actually progressing. So don't get discouraged, but keep continuing.
Those big switchbacks when you
Yeah.
climb a mountain. It's a switchback, yeah. And it seems like you're going right back where you came from, but you're actually at a higher elevation.
Right, right.
Yeah,
And
beautiful.
Baba told Erich that, and that's a beautiful thing that I remember.
Yeah.
Meher Prasad, what is that quote? I want you to make me yours.
As you already eternally are mine.
Thank you.
Are
Already eternally mine. Thank
Or-
you.
Are mine, yeah.
As you already are eternally mine.
Yeah,
Thank
I'll paste that in the chat window.
Oh, okay, thank you.
One of the valuable turning points for me, unless Ganesh, did you want to jump in here or you want to wait?
I want to wait.
Anyway,
I
one of
wanna
the
wait.
turning points for me is I was kind of into self-improvement, spiritual self-improvement, which is turns out to be endless. And you never get there, believe me. They keep moving, you yourself keep moving the goalposts. But Baba really brought home self-acceptance. Self-acceptance is much closer to where I wanted to be with Baba. I mean, when your self-improvement is, it's always not only, it's future oriented, which is taking you out of this moment, but there's a tension between what you are across your heart. There's a tension between where your heart is and where you think you should be, and that creates a tension, and it impedes the flow of love. But self-acceptance relaxes the heart so that you actually become more loving than you imagined you would be. In other words, the tension is that tension that's between what I am and where I want to be. Self-acceptance, it relaxes, and you actually become more loving than you intended in the first place. So it's not complacency, though. Self-acceptance is, but it's I felt always closer to Baba with that. Anyway, so Ganesh, you got anything that occurs to you?
Just what people are sharing is really beautiful. The one thing that I learned in this about unworthiness is that with Baba has already said that we are nothing but a mold of sanskaras at this point of time, and in reality we are all God when the sanskaras are gone. So we are His and eternally His. So that no doubt we are His, and whatever is happening is at the superficial level of sanskaras. Two is that he has given this beautiful quote of what he says is that even the worst sinners will one day become the saints. So everybody are in the path, like the sinners are actually going through their own process of one day they will become saints. He said something like sinners of the past are the saints of today. So we are all in the journey of this. So in fact, we are all His. The one catch over here, which I found, is that what happens is that certain times when we think that, okay, Baba accepts me and all that, it also means that there is a responsibility for us to behave ourselves. And it also means that it doesn't mean that I mess around and say that, okay, Baba still accepts me. So that is one thing which I found is like, it is when we go through situations or we know that we should have been better or something, it is like working out with Baba and leaving it there and feeling, and like it's this way. Like what happens is when we are in a situation where we really repent later, it is not forever repentance, but we work it out with Baba and then leave it there instead of brooding all along that we are not worthy, we did this or we did that. At the same time, it's also not that, okay, Baba accepts me, so I can do whatever I want. So there's a middle path over there, which is very important, that we need to be aware and take it forward from there.
Yeah, Darwin used to call that metaphysical rationalization. When you
So,
everything is Baba. Well, hey, good. Let's go drinking tonight, boy. That's
so there's a definite view. There's both sides to it. One is Baba accepts me, so it's not that I keep repenting and brooding, oh, last night I did this and all that. But definitely I have to work out with Baba so that I don't do it again. At the same time, it's also like this, that I don't feel forever guilty of what I've done. So I have to work it out with Baba. And I think that's the important part in this battle of feeling unworthiness to worthiness.
yeah, no. Yeah. Any I'm trying to think oh, yeah, Mayor Prasad.
Yeah. Most of the times what I have found is that the unworthiness happens because we have done something that we don't approve ourselves. And if we know that, or if we keep him during that part that we know that something that we are doing is not quite right, that I think that really helps in removing that unworthiness. But the part that I actually struggle with is, I think there is a difference between the two, is not so much about the unworthiness, but the worth part of, your being here. Am I really worth here to be useful to anyone? That kind of a thing. That part is, sometimes it comes up, and I don't quite have an antidote for that. What good am I here to be doing anything? That kind of a thing. It's not about am I being unworthy of Baba's
Yeah,
love,
right.
but it's more about my role here in the world. Really, am I useful at all? That kind of a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've had that myself. That's why I take comfort in Baba's name, because if I'm taking Baba's name inwardly, I feel like I'm doing something that he would like. So that covers some of those the blank spaces in my life.
Yeah.
Rainey, you got any other things rattling around in that brain of yours?
You're muted, Rain.
Yeah.
Oh dear, here I
There you
go.
are. There you are. Yeah.
Gosh, all those husbands would have loved that button. Anyway, the thing I ponder on is, so many people ask me, was Francis depressed? No, he wasn't depressed. He was actually the most even person, quiet person I'd ever met, just an very even mood. But in his writing, he gets into bashing heads about. And I did think of something in the East-West Gathering, which is hard to sort of, as I like to say, because I heard about taffy when I came to America, which starts out this big, and then this machine just makes it bigger and bigger and bigger. So I invented this word, taffying it out. I like to taffy things out to make them simpler, I suppose, because I'm a teacher. And so I thought of this thing Francis said, he said a lot of this type of thing at East-West Gathering, seeing his own friends and everything, trying to work out how to be in front of God overnight. He'd been there on and off since 56 and there permanently since 58, but all these people came in from East and West and had to work out how to be around God overnight and what to do or how to think about themselves or whatever. And I remember this little thing in the East-West Gathering, and I'll just read the simpler parts of it, not all his asides. it's often good to go for every third line of Francis and just take the real things rather than the imagined. But so Baba covers his truth from us with 70,000 veils. Baba covers his truth from us with 70,000 veils. And he talks in rhymes and riddles about that, capital T, about that which is behind the innermost veil. And we just sit there exasperated around him, nodding our heads as if we know exactly what he's talking about when we don't. And every now and again, a disciple will blurt something out. And then I think to myself, look, I'm sick of hints and promises. And I can see that on the face of my friends. They're sick of hints and promises too. And I'm fed up with the long-windedness of this tale. And coyness is all right at the beginning of any courtship. But at some point, you have to get naked in front of the loved one, the beloved. I'm not such a barbarian as to suggest that this is between you and me, for example, but 2 or 3 veils less would be okay, and it wouldn't offend anybody's modesty. But then Baba said, you couldn't take it, you couldn't be that close to the sun. So he just took off 1 veil for all of us at the East-West gathering, and we were reeling and spinning.
Beautiful. Yeah, there's a line from Prophet Muhammad where he says, between you and me, there are 49 veils. Between me and you, there are no veils.
Uh-huh.
You know.
Wonderful.
Yeah. But one time, you've heard me say this, but one time Darwin Shaw was looking at Baba. I think this was in the 3 Incredible Weeks. And Baba took aside some 5 minutes, you can look at me. There have been discourses going on, and Baba stopped them. And so Darwin was looking at Baba, and very gradually he began taking away the veils from his side, or well, whatever, removing the veils. And eventually, in looking at Baba, he was looking at love, divine love itself. And Baba's form had completely disappeared. And then very gradually, Baba's form came back and Baba was there in front of him again. So he got to look. Darwin said, boy, you can actually see divine love. You can see it with your eyes.
Yes. This is Marion just popping in with something.
Yeah.
Love is not an emotion. Love is an energy. And many people confuse this. There are feelings that we have toward one another or something. But love is an energy, and we are not solid beings. So we too can change and transform into other aspects of ourselves. Yes.
Yeah. Well, there's a line, although it doesn't quite contradict what you say, but it's just using the words differently. Baba says, see if I can remember the quote. Let's see, wow. Something in energy. Dang it. I can't remember. It was a very succinct, something Baba said. The last line is, love is the creation of the soul. Energy, emotion and energy are the creation of the mind. Love is the creation of the soul. But that, I think what you're defining as energy is probably the vitality of love. You know, I mean, it's hard to get, there are different systems, but.
Well, I'm agreeing with what you said.
Yeah.
Yes.
Energy,
maybe just different words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
emotion and energy are the creation of the mind.
Right.
Love is the creation of the soul.
Yes.
And but love and emotions and feelings get mixed up with love. Love is on a different track.
That's
It
right.
expresses itself through emotions and feelings, but it actually comes from the other inner dimension.
Yes, that's what I was saying in my just a few words. I didn't want to expound, but you've said it and elaborated, and that's very helpful. Yes, that's exactly.
I was hoping to get Isabel there, but just to find out. Marta, is anything? Yeah, Isabel. Anything that occurs to you? Not, I mean, just off the top of your head about what we're mumbling about here.
Yeah, sorry, I had to move to the other room. Let me think on it for a second.
She has very loving parents.
I do. I will use that as part of it. So speaking like of unworthiness, I think in large part, like when we put ourselves in, what Joshua was saying earlier was really interesting to me, because when we put our ego at the center of our lives, it's kind of hard sometimes to it's hard to separate your ego from your actual self and God and your relationship with God. And so I think some unworthiness comes with like comparison to others and comparison to what you think you should be doing. And so I enjoyed what somebody said earlier, where they said that I can't remember it, but I have just been thinking about like how when I have feelings of unworthiness, it oftentimes comes from comparison to what I think I should be feeling or should be doing, or what others are doing, or how far others have come. Yeah.
Yeah, like on any one accomplishment, someone's going to be better than you, and someone's going to be worse than you. You know, I mean, on anything, patience. Somebody's more patient than you. Someone's less patient than you. Someone is more forgiving than you, and you're more forgiving than someone else. I mean, it's endless, but. We'll go to Joshua here first, and then Peter.
Yeah, I was just wanting to second that. There can be, like with what Isabel was saying about comparison, you can't have something good or bad without there being an unconscious comparison to something else, So I think that's a really important to think about, if whenever someone's saying they're bad, there is the implication that there is some ideal out there that is good, which they're not meeting. So yeah, I find that fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah. The Buddha was not, that was one of the no-nos with the Buddha. Don't compare. But I mean, it's pretty hard not to, but he warned against that as something hurtful to ourselves. Peter.
Yes, sir. I want to know, Jeff, if you can expand on something that the connection's bad.
You've been drinking again, Peter.
You got me, and this is
sound like you've been drinking. Go ahead, try it again.
Turn the second device off, Peter. Remember to turn the second device off.
What second device off? This is it.
Oh, good. You're sounding good.
I don't know. All right. Yeah, it's a brand new iPhone 2, about a month old, and you got to be kidding me. It doesn't work. I want to know if you can expand on something you said earlier. It sounds like a no-brainer, but I would like expansion. Somewhere in Lord Mayhair, there's a comment Mayor Baba made when somebody realized that their pride was a difficulty with them, and Baba said, well, thank God you finally realized that we can finally start working on it. And you mentioned taking 2 steps forward, then 1 step back is a way Bobby uses to work on her pride. It wreaks havoc with me. I mean, really bad. And I'm wondering if you can expand on it. Thank you. Pass.
You mean how
How to
pride
take
is
the
your
2
pride
steps
of
back?
progress, huh?
How would one take the 2 steps back without undermining oneself, perhaps?
Well, I mean, we are actually moving forward toward a deeper love, and then suddenly we'll do something that's quite selfish and unloving, and then we go on, we're doing loving and everything, and then, oh my God, I blew up at my landlord, and you know what I mean. So the pride of progress gets gets kind of annihilated as you go along with Baba through the lapses into unlovingness, and you move forward and you're becoming more loving, more generous, more sensitive, more caring, more aware, all of that. You're making headway, and then you do something that is where you lose it. Your selfishness comes out. Peter, is that, I mean, that I was thinking of pride in that. Pride is so high up, so to speak, at the mental level that it takes a master to get rid of pride. Anger and pride are at the mental level. I mean, lust is at the gross level. You can actually control lust. Greed is at the subtle level. You can kind of control greed through great effort. But Baba said that to get rid of anger and pride takes the master. It's too deep. The root of it is too deep. I mean, that doesn't mean you don't try. I mean, but it's better to appeal to Baba if you're having trouble with anger. Anyway, Peter, restate your thing. I mean, is this helping at all?
It's tough to say, because what I think, interpreting my experience, when I think I make any forward progress, I start getting happy and say, yay, I did it. And then I find no sooner do I assert ego, it's like I get smacked. And it seems like I just get more and more bitter with age. And sometimes I don't know what to make of it. And this seemingly even the most smallest tasks, I have the bear of a time getting done. And it just leaves me feeling very, very powerless. Like, why even bother? The thing is, I got to try doing something because life has to be lived.
Yeah.
So I just sometimes I think, every so often I think to myself, it may be a way I can't even say Baba because it makes me so angry. He is causing me to go into provisional ego more. I'm trying to think how to wrap a period around. I just dare not get any success because I feel like if I had a shred of ego that I did this, it'll just be annihilated. So the only way I find that I can remember him is by being upset. And there is no feeling good without that. I don't know if that makes any sense. I don't know how to put it any other way without just going on about it. And I feel like I'm going to be yanked.
Yeah. I mean, all of those extremes that you're hitting, eventually they smooth out. I mean, I think almost anybody can attest here that you start out and you're going side to side and banging into things, but eventually you get your vehicle, it can stay on the road. Baba, I mean, it's a lot of it's trial and error, and eventually just have the faith that you are going to get it. 2 years from now, 2 years from now, you could say, wow, I finally feel that I'm kind of on a stable sort of course.
Well, I think the 2 years is well past, Jeff. The
Yeah.
2 years is well past already.
No, 2 years from now. I'm going to check in on you in 2 years. But I mean, the fact that you're so sincere and caring and making this effort, and you're remembering Baba, it's going to work out. It's just a matter of time. And I mean, like I say, if you'd seen me back in my younger days, you would have you'd have faith that it can be done. Baba will get it done.
Isn't it true also, Jeff, that with Baba, no matter if we think we're standing still or going backwards, we're still always moving towards him.
Definitely. Yeah, and he's seeping in more and more into our consciousness, more and more into our remembrance, more and more into how we respond to others. He's taken over the place. You know, you thought just a few termites come into your house might be all right, but they've multiplied. Let's see. Let's see what Payam has to say about all this craziness.
Oh yeah, Payam.
And she might be cooking or something. I was trying to think here. I had a question to ask Isabel. So Marta,
there's Isabel again every
Yeah.
time.
And now that you've appeared, I forgot the question I was going to ask you.
Sorry, I'm listening to it, but I'm just over there.
Yeah. And I'm trying to think. I was going to. Are you here in town in Myrtle Beach?
I'm not, unfortunately. I just had back surgery, and so I'm not able to go to Sahas, but my brothers are, and I am very excited for them because it's Finnan's first year, so my parents are down there with them right now.
So I thought you drove them down, maybe.
No.
Now what was I gonna ask you?
Isabel, do you have go ahead, Jeff, before you forget it.
Yeah,
before
go
you
ahead,
forget it,
Martha.
Jeff.
I remembered it, so you go ahead.
Do you, Isabel, as a young woman, do you struggle a lot with like confusion or unworthiness with Baba, or do you feel Baba accepts you the way you are?
I think I think in many ways it resonated with me when Jeff was saying that if you come from like very loving and supportive people in your life, and you're always like, you've been shown unconditional love in human relations, then it's easier to find like total acceptance in your relationship with Baba. And so I do find acceptance with Baba. But I find that the more I work on my relationship with him and my relationship with myself, then the deeper the acceptance becomes, kind of, where kind of like the more I put into it, the more deeply I feel accepted by him.
Thank
Beautiful. You. Wow, lovely. Here's a little lesson in acceptance that Baba gave to me. I was raking at Baba's house one afternoon. This is many years ago. I wasn't thinking of anything particular. It was a beautiful day, sunny, cool. And then Baba flashed this to me. He'll give me a flash, and I know I can find the English words to convey what he says. I mean, but it comes as kind of an intuitive flash. And this is what Baba said with a sense of humor. I'm raking away, and he says, no one can love me the way you do. And then there's a pause, better than you do. No one can love me the way you do better than you do, because I'm the only one that can love them this way. You know, I'm nutmeg, you're cinnamon, you know, you're coriander. You know, no one can love Baba the way each of us, you know, there's no one that can compare with Isabel's love. The way she loves Baba is completely unique, like a snowflake. So that was a beautiful, that takes it out of the realm of comparison, you know, in relation to Baba. So I thought that was a nice little thing from Baba. That was a good question that Marta asked, and beautiful that you, the more you kind of focus on Baba, the more you feel that he accepts you. Let's see what, Joshua, what do you feel? How do you, I mean, this is getting kind of personal, but how do you feel Baba feels about you?
Oh, it's so difficult because it's a projection, you know. Baba said people don't see God is, they see God as they are. And so naturally, my internal Baba is very chaotic because I'm internally very chaotic. And so there's lots of fluctuating different things. It's so yeah, it's funny, I don't know, I try not to I wouldn't say that I get a very active, intuitive message from Baba, although occasionally I'll have Baba dreams, and you know, and in which he's sort of quite wise and caring, things like that. Yeah, it's tough. It's interesting. It's very tough and changing and chaotic, but still I just stick through and I hold on to the Dharma, and because I don't know, because of my deep link, you know, for whatever reason, I'm obsessed with the Dharma. Yeah. And I try, even when, you know, even when it goes through chaotic periods of feeling unacceptance, I've tried being more accepting of that as well. And so sort of almost being like, sometimes I'll embody the naughty child who enjoys getting the attention of being chastised, you know. Sometimes you'll see little kids running around who enjoy getting in trouble because you know, it's more attention. And yeah, so yeah.
What if Baba just walked up to you right now, and he's in a good mood, and he walks up to you? How do you think he would respond to you? I mean, this is completely, you know, how would he? I mean, how do you think he would, looking over at you, and how he might respond and gesture, or you know, would he kind of grab your shoulders, or you know, how do you picture him?
Like
Laughing?
right now, I can
Huh?
imagine right now, as of this moment, I would imagine him just being very silent, but sort of friendly, you know. I sort of, you know, loving gaze, I guess. Yeah.
Would he be kind of mischievous with you, or a little
Yes.
bit humorous, poking at you, or yeah?
Yeah, I think a
Yeah.
trickster. I think because he recognizes, I think that's where we get on most, both our dual trickster natures.
Beautiful. Ah, wow. Hey, I should ask Peter. Where's Peter? What if Baba kind of walked into your apartment there, and he found you looking at this computer screen? What do you think he would do when he walked over to you?
Oh, I was just posting a message. What would Mayor Baba said? What would he say if he walked into the room and saw me staring at this computer screen, this
Yeah, and
iPhone screen. Is that the
yeah, he just kind of casually walks in. What do you think? And you're there. You look up. How do you see Baba responding to you?
This is just an insanely long pause.
Good. Take as long as you need. It's rich silence.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I think people like me better when I'm silent. My gut response is I could see him going two different ways, being God, either get up on your feet now and address me. Like, get up now. I'm God, get up. And hey, well done. You're seeing me on Zoom. How wonderful. So it could be either one and he could laugh at it. So I could see it going either way. I didn't want to have too much of a pause in there. Pass.
Yeah. No, I mean, these are kind of nice things to think about, because you're really filling in Baba's personality as he relates to you. Is he kind of humorous? Is he kind of dour? Is he fun-loving? Is he a trickster? Because Baba says, I am whatever you take me to be. So he doesn't have to just be like, a God that waits for you to come over and bow down to him. Well, I'll give you an example. There was 1952, I think it was, might have been 56. Baba asked Darwin Shaw's son to come down to be a night watchman. So he came down to the center, independent of his family, and he was at the caretaker's cabin, and there used to be a little sink in the corner. And he hasn't met Baba, and he's actually a little bit apprehensive about meeting Baba. And he's over shaving on the mirror in the corner and everything. And he feels a tap on his shoulder, and he turns around, and it's Baba giving him an embrace. How beautiful. It completely, all the nervousness was gone. Baba came to him and disarmed all of his anxiety. Baba somehow was able to sneak in the door, and he was about 16 years old, and he tapped on his shoulder, and Baba just embraced him. So that's a beautiful scene. If we think of God, does God do stuff like that? Our notion of God doesn't exactly do stuff like that, but the God man, he's that way.
Hey Jeff, can I throw in another thought that just came into my mind is, and this is based on, I think, what Mayor Prasad, that quote from before. Another scenario I could see is like Mayor Baba, to me, has been coming through in a much more endearing way than he ever has before. Beautiful. And if he came into my room and he may not say anything, but just put on a great big smile, stand there, open up his arms and say, I'm here to give you a great big hug because I love you.
Beautiful. Yeah.
I could see him doing that too. Say, we don't need to say anything. Just let me love you. Let me give you a great big hug and look into my eyes, or have me look into my eyes. And I want to add that I've been doing this introspective work. And when I share it with him, something that happens is when I look into his eyes, he has this twinkle in his eyes that's telling me, in a sense, what you're sharing with me is zero and it's nothing. And I feel like I'm getting more of this unconditional acceptance.
Beautiful.
And sometimes I think, why am I not, when I've done this work in the past, I did it in a much faster pace, or at least a faster pace. And I'm like, why am I not doing it quicker now? And I've been doing a lot of other stuff on top of it. So I've been trying to lighten up about myself and say, at least I'm doing something. But it occurred to me that perhaps if I'm meeting with him less or having more contact points, I find that his feedback is much more, I like to think it's much more of an accepting nature, much more of an endearing, like I'm seeing a twinkle in his eye to say, oh, well, what does the avatar express to you with a twinkle in his eye? Can you fill in a blank?
No, I like that. I like the way you're thinking of him. I mean, that just because you have a very serious nature, and you can imagine Baba, playing a more playful kind of approach with you.
Yeah.
Here's a beautiful story, and maybe Rainey can knows it better than I do. But when Baba went to Melbourne, this is Australia. That's a little island off of New Guinea, Australia, and but very unexpectedly, Baba says he's going to make some house visits. He's going to visit some houses. He was at one place, and he said, I want to come and visit your houses. So people got in their car. They shot home and everything, and they tried to clean up their house and everything. And very often, some of them in a closet in the hallway, they just put a bunch of crap in there. The kids went into their bedroom and threw a bunch of stuff in their closets. And then Baba comes, and he's walking around from room to room and everything. And then he says, what's in that room there? What's in behind that door? And they open it up, and everything they crammed in there. He goes into the kids' rooms, and they've thrown a bunch of stuff in the closet. And it's like Baba's saying, hey, I want the whole thing. I want your garbage, your mess, and your lovely home. They're all, but I mean, Baba was doing it just playfully,
I think the main part of that story was at the Bruford's house in Malvern in Melbourne, and he went to John Bruford, Francis's best friend's home, who was an inventor, famous inventor. He actually invented what we call the Akai heads now. We wouldn't have all this recording but for John Bruford. And he was also a sculptor and painter, and mostly a sculptor. But anyway, when they got to his house, Joan said, this kids had scrambled and tied up. This is this room. And I might add, these people were total bohemians, even though from very, to our thing, sort of upper crust, intellectual Melbourne bohemians. And their house was covered in brown paper as wallpaper, like brown wrapping paper. And all the walls were covered with brown paper. These were utopian lefties, Josh. Anyway, so then there's this one door shut, and Baba says, what's in there? And Joan says, oh, nobody goes in there. That's John's room. And so Baba just strides right past her. No one had been in there to go in there for years, and he just opens the door and beams and looks in at all of the benches and this and everything. He stayed in that room a little while. He loved that room. Bernard tells this story. Baba going into Dad's room,
His room of invention.
Yes, with stuff everywhere.
No, these are just imagine how fun Baba is to be with. Nothing solemn.
Jeff, what would Baba do if he came in behind you right now? What would you do with Baba?
Try to scare me. No. He'd probably just put his arm around me like that and just we'd rock back and forth.
Yeah.
I mean, Baba's just dying to do this. It's not like we have to earn it. I mean, the moment we open the door, he's in. that quote.
Remember
that
that bit of footage of Agnes? You know, she was so crusty and everything, and she's always like this, and everything. And then Barbara just comes up behind her and just totally immerses her in his love, and she just melts like a 2-year-old. That's one of my favorite little bits of footage at Marymount of Agni, of Barbara melting her rumpf stance. You know, it was just gorgeous.
He had a thing that he did with Margaret Krask where he would get her to look a certain direction, then he would slap her on the side of the face. You know, but it was a thing that, you know, that thing where you point to someone and then they look down and then you hit their nose. Well, Baba had a thing with Margaret Krask, and he would tap her on the shoulder, but he'd say, "Wow, look at over there," you know, and she'd look over there, and then he'd get her. So she, you know, I had to kind of protect her cheeks there, but he was able to kind of fake her out, you know. And there's one movie in which he does that, and they excerpted that part. I guess they didn't feel that it was appropriate, but that was a thing that he had doing with Margaret Krask, going all the way back to the 30s, and this film was taken in 56, you know. So it's kind of who would think that God would be like this? You know? Ganesh. Whoop.
Yeah, I'm here. Yes, Jeff.
Were you about to say something, or?
No, I'm just listening. I'm just enjoying. And I was just thinking with the thought you posed about what if Baba comes. I think it will be complete silence, and it will just be like a moment of completeness, and no thoughts, nothing. It's just a moment of completeness. That's all I can think of.
If he came in that door right behind you,
yes,
and you're looking this way at us, what is he going to do?
So I think for me it would be just I don't know what he's going to do, but for me it would be just like my mind would just go blank.
Yeah, I bet he'd unplug the cord to your computer, and just you wonder what the heck happened. And you look around and you find that Bob is there with the cord.
Jeff, is it time for sometimes? Do you think everyone can take sometimes again?
Yeah, but here's one thing. Marta and I were talking earlier. We were thinking of as a possibility on this coming Tuesday, if people could find a story, a short story of Baba that they like. I mean, that, you know, not a 20-minute story, but like some scene from. I'll give you an idea of a length of time, or a story. Like one time, Bob was giving darshan, and this one guy used to come before Baba, and his devotion was so fake, so insincere and everything, but he made a big display of it. And this had been going on for years, and it bothered Erich. And on one occasion, after this guy had done his usual and everything, later on when Erich was with Baba said, you know, how did it go today? And, you know, all right, Baba, yeah. But he got it out that this guy bothered, his fake devotion bothered Baba. Yeah. And Baba said, but you don't see something like, you don't see the whole history. You don't know how far he's come to be just this bad. You know, I mean, that's actually a little bit shorter than, but something like that, a story that you find touching or amusing, and, you know, bring it next on Tuesday. I mean, it could be something that you find humorous, or something that was meaningful to you in revealing a side of Baba that touches you or resonates with you. Did that? Yeah. That would be kind of neat. I mean, I don't know how I can get the word out, but I'll email some people. Hey, but it was Prakash here all this time?
Where's Prakash? I don't
I
see
see
him.
Prakash right there. Maybe he just
Oh yeah, Prakash. Oh yeah, he's behind Baba.
Yeah. Anyway, so that was a possibility. And another thing would be that would be nice is pivotal moments in your life with Baba that really kind of change things, or a particularly very touching story that's happened to you. It could be something you witnessed out in the world, not necessarily with Baba's signature on it, but someone did something that especially touched you. That would be nice it would be wonderful to hear. You know, Wayne Dyer described this scene where it was like a Special Olympics, and it was a race, and they were running along with their disabilities, and as they go along, one of them fell on the ground, and so the others stopped. They came back, picked him up, and they went shoulder to shoulder, and they all came across the finish line at the same time. You know, who does stuff like that? You know. But anyway.
Probably you.
Yeah.
My girl.
But touching, you know, those are like beautiful love moments that every once in a while happen down here. So, now, yeah, read that, and then I think we should, you know, it's way past Isabel's bedtime. You know,
no, she's capable of staying up way later than us. But she's had a surgery and a spine surgery, so we shouldn't keep her up. It's true.
So yeah, read this, and then we'll have a period of silence.
Well, you've all heard it before, but Jeff's saying if Baba just showed up in your room, well, just imagine if you only slept 5 hours a night and you were around him for 11 years, being scrutinized, questioned, asked to do things day and night.
And Isabel, she's talking about Francis
Brabazon, or any of the Mandali.
Yeah.
So Francis, in his Mighty Beloved talk, in the 3 talks, thank you to the people who wanted the book. Anybody that would like that little booklet of 3 talks, I've been given a stack of them to send out by Stephen. Anyway, he came up with the thing of he always felt like he was upside down in a garbage can around Baba. And when you were thinking you were going to be run down, you were built up, and when you thought you were staying built up, you'd feel like you were run down. Sometimes I wish you were a bit less God, a bit less beloved, and a bit more man. I feel like a man upside down in a garbage can. Your godness and your belovedhood are more than I can stand. I squirm like a worm turned up in the scorching sun. You are so much all God, such a beloved one. Sometimes I wish you were a bit less God, a bit less beloved, a bit more man. Sometimes I think I'm going to go to another planet. Yep, I'm going to go to another planet. One of the 18,000 that you never inhabit. Oh, yeah, but I bet you'd turn up there looking more God, more beautiful, and more beloved than ever. Well, that's why I feel like a man upside down in a garbage can, and I wish you were a bit less God, a bit less beloved, and a bit more man. But if only I could talk to you for once, just man to man. For once not feel upside down in a garbage can. If only I knew what on earth you were talking about. And I wasn't squirming like a worm or laughing like a lout. Because sometimes, you know, I wish you were a bit less God, a bit less beloved, and a bit more man.
Yeah. Imagine, you know, this is the kind of thing that he wrote and read out to Baba. You know, I mean, can you get away with that? Can you imagine someone doing that to Jesus or the Buddha? You know, I mean, I'm sure they did, but it doesn't come down, it comes down much too serious, you know.
Thank you, Rainey. That was fantastic.
Isn't
That
that
was
beautiful?
fantastic. Yeah, really is. Really.
Yeah.
The
Hey,
good old
Melissa,
VJ's here. Hi,
just,
VJ's here.
just as VJ shows up, we're going to have our moment of silence. But at least we got someone from Pune here, you know, to bring a little Indian energy.
Just now I got awakened.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I remembered your meeting.
Yeah, we've got
Just
Dinesh here and Shams is here. Yeah. Okay, let's have a few moments of silence. Jai Baba. Hey, so I just wanted to say, VJ and there's Dinesh. But I was thinking of next time, that's on Tuesday. If you can find a short Baba story, either read it or share it that you especially like. That, you know, so if people bring a story that they like, it would be wonderful to hear a lot of different stories.
Short though, Jeff. Short.
Yeah, not
too
45
long.
minute, you know. Wait just a second. Let me read the book here. I like the whole book, and I hope you don't mind. No, just, you know, like I say, you can either read it or, you know, just share it. And here's a lasting quote. I said it earlier in Effort and Grace. This is from Rabia. Rabia was one of the early Sufi mystics. And Baba said later on that she became Baba Jan. So she was way back in the 700s, and now she is there for Baba. She said, "Dear one, why do you keep pounding on an open door, begging to be let in? Why do you keep pounding on, dear one, why do you keep pounding on an open door, begging to be let in?" Yeah, well, I guess Diane, they didn't pay their electric bill, and it's really getting kind of dark over there. Hey, Pam.
Hi, Jeff. Hi, everyone. Sorry I missed you. There's always some commotion here going on. What can I say?
Yeah, we talked a little bit about unworthiness and.
Oh yeah, I listen.
And yeah,
I went through a drive-through listening to you all.
Oh. Wonderful. Well, thank you everybody for bringing all this. You know, I mean, it's just important that we all see different camera angles on some of these central things in our life with Baba, and how everybody, even Dinesh, you know, he's driving around, but you know, he's The free man, just jumping around in his car. Good to see you. All right. So, any last thing?
Shall I say, Jeff?
Yeah.
Everything is illusion in domain of reality.
Everything is
Illusion in domain of reality.
yeah. Good. Everything is illusion in the domain of reality. So we basically wasted our time here.
It's from the perspective of Dinesh ji. Everything is illusion. Or from the perspective of Meher Baba.
So anyway, thank you everybody. Good. And sometime or other, Ganesh did a great book on Baba's Grace. So one of these times, is it something that you need some time to prepare?
It's not time actually. Right now we have the Savas, which is starting on August 21st. So a bit busy with those things, but really would love to do that.
Okay.
So
maybe in the fall.
Yes.
In our fall.
I surely would love to do that. Yes.
Yeah.
His Grace.
Yeah, because he does the Usahavas, one of the main ringleaders of that in India.
So it's between August 21st to 29th. So we have that. This time it's going to be virtual.
Yeah. Which is a bit of work.
Yeah.
Yes. So virtual makes it all the more tougher.
I don't have to put any chairs out, but there's a lot. Okay, folks.
Thanks, Jeff.
Isabel,
Bye,
great
everybody.
to see you. Yeah.
Hey, Baba.
Hey, Baba.
Hey, Baba.
Hey, Baba.
Bye,
Thank you, Jeff.
Oh yeah, we got to get Avatar Mayor Baba. We got to get Nasreen has to finish everything off.
Okay, Jeff. Avatar Meher Baba ki jai.
Jai.
Avatar Meher
Baba
ki jai.
Jai.
Avatar Meher Baba ki
Jai.
That's the best Avatar Mayor Baba going.
Jai Baba. Thank you, Jeff.